It is now my pleasure to introduce a special human being, someone who has been both a leader in our nation's correctional system and a dear friend to Tzedek. He served as the acting director of the Bureau of Prisons, and before that, as assistant director for re-entry. In each of his many leadership positions, he has shaped policies. He has touched countless lives. He implemented the first provision of the First Step Act, the Elderly Home Detention Program. Since retiring from the BOP, Hugh Hurwitz has continued to make an extraordinary impact, serving as an indispensable advisor to Tzedek. Whenever Tzedek has a question about the federal prison system, about re-entry, Hugh Hurwitz is there. He's ready to share his decades of experience and his insight. His wisdom has helped give Tzedek's work, and his friendship has strengthened Tzedek's mission. The entire team at Tzedek is deeply grateful for his partnership, his counsel, and his heart for this incredible and noble cause. Please, Moira Barabaisai, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our dear friend, Hugh Hurwitz. Go get him.
Well, good evening, and thank you for those kind remarks. The Deputy Attorney General earlier this evening talked about second chances. And tonight I'm going to tell you a story about second chances. We have the privilege tonight of welcoming a man whose life story is nothing short of extraordinary. From a childhood marked by hardship, to time spent behind bars, to becoming the second highest official in the very agency that once incarcerated him. Josh Smith's journey is a testament of faith, perseverance, and the power of redemption. Josh grew up in a single mother household, lived in government housing, and was removed from his home at age 11. He was convicted of 10 felonies by the time he was 16. He ultimately dropped out of high school and was rearrested at the age of 21, spending the next 5 years in the federal prison system. But in prison, he grew his relationship with God and was guided by several highly educated white-collar offenders. He learned to believe in himself and that he could succeed. His faith guided that belief. He became a student. He did not waste his time, and he sought to learn all that he could. But like so many others, Josh's release from prison was not easy. He had to beg for his first job, paying $6 an hour. And he and his wife lost their government housing because former felons were ineligible to live there. But Josh's faith and belief in himself helped guide him as he started and eventually sold a highly successful service company. His success and desire to make prisons a place of transformation led to his establishing the Fourth Purpose Foundation. Fourth Purpose assists prison systems across the country through resources, education, and support around correction staff members, inmates, and the greater community. Josh has supported programs that provide hope, training, and reentry support for prisoners and their families who seek a new life. His focus on transformation of lives and prisons has impacted people across the United States and throughout the world. Josh was pardoned by President Trump in 2020, and he was the first formerly incarcerated individual to be appointed to a position in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I have often referred to Josh as the poster child for reentry success, someone that the Federal Bureau of Prisons can hold up as a model of what a correction system strives for. Josh's story proves that our past does not have to define our future. It could be the very thing that fuels our purpose. Today, he is not only a national leader in corrections reform, but a living reminder that transformation is possible for anyone. I am proud to call Josh a friend, and I'm honored to welcome him here tonight. Before we invite Josh to the stage, please take a moment to watch this short introductory video.
Tonight, we're proud to welcome one of the most impactful reformers in the federal prison system, Deputy Director of the Bureau of Prisons, Josh Smith. In a system often resistant to change, Josh isn't afraid to challenge the status quo with conviction and vision. Using his decades of experience, he's pushed past bureaucracy to make real changes that impact real lives in record time. He's been a driving force in putting the First Step Act into action, a landmark bipartisan reform that began with Rabbi Moshe Margaretin and Tzedek Association, and is now transforming how the federal prison system works. From reentry programs to expanded supervision pathways, Josh has made rehabilitation and reintegration priorities, not just talking points. Families have more phone minutes with their incarcerated loved ones. More people are transitioning home through expanded home confinement. Furlough policies are in the midst of being revived and reformed, bringing dignity and humanity back into the system. And he's just getting started. In the last 6 weeks alone, thanks to Director Marshall and Deputy Director Smith, we've seen BOP take monumental actions in a new direction that we haven't ever seen before. Josh Smith proves that when leadership is bold, principled, and people-focused, even the largest systems can move toward justice. Please join us in welcoming our partner in the work of redemption and reform, Deputy Director of the Bureau of Prisons, Mr. Josh Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an honor it is to be here tonight. It's such a beautiful place as this Library of Congress. You know, so many leaders, so many partners and friends in this work. You know, we just got to hear from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. And I just want to tell you, it's an honor to be able to work with somebody like him who has been leading at the Attorney General's office and the Department of Justice as he has. And I don't get to do what I do without leadership like his. I also want to thank Rabbi Margaretin and Tzedek Association. You know, coordinating this event, being the visionary behind so many different things, and inspiring so many. I would say one word that would describe many of you and him is persistence. Never giving up and never stopping. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of talk about the First Step Act, and we'll talk some about that. But I'll tell you, the work of this organization has started way before the First Step Act became a reality. Countless times, countless meetings, and building together teams to impact the criminal justice system. It's been impressive to watch, and frankly, I've been someone cheering you on from my positions. So let's talk about what time we're standing here in. Today, we're standing in a historic time. for several different reasons. First, President Trump, the most transformational leader in the history of our country, bar none. You know, many people talk about criminal justice and criminal justice reform and from the left and to the right, but President Trump is the very first one that is truly led on this issue and took a tough on crime approach, but also a smart on crime and an intentional on crime approach. President Trump signed into law the First Step Act, and many of you have worked very hard on this act. Several have already talked many pieces about this piece of legislation, but where it's been applied, it's had a 12% recidivism rate compared to 44% nationally. Now think about that. Absolutely. But I want to be honest. The previous administration with the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons really struggled and did not implement the First Step Act the way it was intended. And because of the support of Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, we've been working very hard, Director Marshall and I, to discover all of the ways that this key piece of legislation has been hindered. And let me be clear, thanks to President Trump, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Director Bill Marshall, thanks to them, the DOJ and BOP are aligned like never before in the history of this country. Department of Justice leadership has been very clear to us. We are going to remove the roadblocks, period. Now, you heard Mr. Hurwitz talk about my story. 38 years ago, as a kid, I walked into a juvenile center. Somebody with no father that was gone at 2, a mother struggling to make it. Grew into this young, punk, drug-dealing kid. I had no influences, nothing positive, and was on that path. Now, you have heard some of the story on how God has impacted my life. Fast forward to today, because of people like you volunteering in the prisons, because of people like you who impact young people like I used to be, I got to walk out of prison with a different mentality, though my reality was still the same. Since that time, I now stand before you celebrating a marriage of 28 years. Four children and 4 grandchildren, and someone who has paid a lot of taxes since my reformation. Let me be clear, because some confuse sometimes my stance on crime. Even as someone who was a criminal before, I am very clearly tough on crime. I believe it's important for our public safety for us to be tough on crime. But I believe that we have to be intentional with the criminals. We have to invest in them in a way that when they come into the systems, they leave better than we received them. It's absolutely imperative to our communities and public safety that this happens. I want to express just personal appreciation to the Tzedek Association and all of you volunteers. I want to tell you that we are in alignment. In our first meeting, as we sat down and went through the many bullet points, it was only confirmation that we were on the same page. As they said, just today I found out that the programming will happen around the 19th or 20th of this month, and we will be increasing the phone minutes to 520 minutes, not just we started to do it just for First Step Act, and yet many of the team began to bog it down with many different rules and different regulations and how it can or can't be. And so Director Marshall and I made the decision to just clear it, and we're going to give 520 minutes to everybody inside of the system regardless. Connections to families, if somebody keeps that connection, they have a 24% less likelihood of coming back to prison. We want to make sure that that happens. Furlough policies. Already, since we've started, furlough policies have been implemented and more furloughs are happening. Furloughs allow people to transition back home in a much smoother way, being more acclimated back into their community, and you're going to see more of that. And among many other things, we will be improving kosher diets so people of faith can live according to their faith. We all want the same thing. We want safe communities, and we want safe homes. We want people to be restored back into their communities better than they came in. And I want to say to you personally that I want to thank you for your commitment to this work, because it's your commitment that impacted this young kid many years ago. And it's your commitment that allows someone like me to stand here today in the very position that I'm in. I look forward to partnering with you all. Thank you.
Just going to present to Mr. Smith this plaque on behalf of Tzedek, and it reads, "In recognition of your steadfast leadership, integrity, and commitment to meaningful reform within our federal prison system, your partnership has advanced hope, dignity, and second chances for so many individuals working toward rehabilitation and reentry. Your efforts reflect the best of public service, principled, compassionate, and focused on real impact. With deep appreciation from the Tzedek Association."